Hey guys, in this episode we're going to discuss the film Tully. We're going to give you our thoughts on how we think Charlize Theron did in her performance, and we're going to talk about the film's themes such as parenthood and mental illness. This is episode 37 of the Reel-ists Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to the Reel-ists Podcast. I'm Donnie.
And I'm Oscar.
And we have our producer Ruben here.
Hello.
Hello, Ruben says. We want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, we appreciate the support. Before we get into this episode, we do want to just go over a couple quick things, a little housekeeping. First and foremost, we want to thank you guys. Thank you so much for just being awesome listeners. And we want to encourage you guys to just continue to spread the word on our podcast. If you can tell everybody you know about Team Reel-ists, we would surely appreciate it. Remember, we're on all podcast platforms available. We're on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Team Reel-ists, Team Reel-ists. So if you guys could just continue to spread the love and share with everyone you know, we would surely appreciate it, right?
And if you already told someone, tell that person to tell someone. Kind of watch each other's back.
If one person tells 5 people and those 5 people tell another 5 people.
It's what we call, what is that called? That has a name.
I don't know what that's called.
Okay.
like a pyramid scheme.
It's called something, guys. It's a pyramid scheme.
No, yeah, it's called something. We'll tell you what it's called in the next episode, but just try to do it, okay? But thank you guys so much. Another thing I wanted to touch on was just wanted to let everyone know that our Team Reel-ists giveaway is over and that the winners of that giveaway will be contacted. Thank you so much for everyone who participated.
And be on the lookout for more. You never know.
You never know. Just keep listening. We definitely want to give our listeners things going forward.
It's our way of showing appreciation back.
Absolutely. And lastly, but not least, we wanted to ask all of our listeners that listen to our podcast on iTunes, if you guys could please do us a huge favor and review us. If you are an iTunes listener, correct? Oscar, am I saying that right?
That is correct. iTunes, or people may go by Apple Podcasts. Either one, they're the same thing. They're taken to the same place. Yes, if you can, just leave us your rating of what you think of our podcasts and any thoughts you want to put onto that rating, just to kind of explain your reason for that. It would be helpful for us just to kind of start being able to be noticed by iTunes a little bit more and getting that ability to reach a wider audience. So we really would appreciate that.
And we'd appreciate, even if it's constructive criticism, it doesn't have to be all good things. Just let us know how you think we're doing. It would definitely help us out so much to know what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, what we can improve on. So if you guys could just take the time to do that, that would be amazing. And we would surely appreciate it.
Yes, we will.
So to get into our episode, today we're going to discuss the film Tully, starring Charlize Theron.
Yes.
I'm going to try not to say her name a million times.
Oh, no. I was going to say, I thought there was someone else that I knew in there, but I don't. Nope, just her.
No? Ron Livingston?
I mean, I know.
You know the faces?
The brother, the actor that plays the brother, I know the face. I just don't know where he's from.
Yeah, I know him. Mark Duplass.
Yes.
I know him from Zero Dark 30.
What I know is that him and his brother declined to make a Marvel movie. I know that little fun tidbit.
Really?
Yeah. They were reached by Marvel and they declined to make a Marvel movie. I mean, I didn't read into details as to why they declined. I just know that his name came up recent in news for that. And yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Speaking of Mark Duplass, was it me or did him and Ron Livingston, who played the husband, did they not look alike?
They did.
Which
for a second I was like, wait, were they actual brothers that were?
Yeah, I was like, wait, are they really related? They really did resemble each other, and I looked it up. They're not, but and I don't know if that was. I read somewhere that was supposed to kind of be like a little like joke, like, oh, they look more related than Charlize Theron and the brother.
Okay.
Did. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but they hated each other. The characters did not like each. Well, at least we know the husband did not like her brother. Like that was like because he.
Oh my God! Don't spoil it.
I mean, that's okay. Yeah, that's
spoiler alert.
Before we we'll
get into all those details. So just to give you guys a quick little rundown, Tully, A mother of three let me restart. A mother of three hires a night nanny to help with her newborn. It's pretty simple. Pretty simple synopsis from IMDb. That was pretty much what the film was about initially. Oscar, we went into this movie thinking, well, I don't really know. Did you kind of have an idea of what this film was going to be about? Did the trailer really kind of expose what the plot would be? And did you get what you were expecting? Or did you leave like, wow, that film went in a completely different direction than I anticipated?
It's kind of a little bit of everything. The first trailer did not tell me really what was going to happen. That like the way they teased like someone was going to arrive, but we really never saw who it was. It wasn't until the second trailer that we actually got to see, that Tully was the actual nanny that was going to be there, and like how she was going to contribute and stuff like that. That's why I started to get the sense of, okay, I think I know where this movie's going. Going into it, I did think it was going to be more of, that typical like, a nanny comes, saves the day, and helps everyone realize, their true potential, or that, they are a family, like that
kind of like a modern day Mary Poppins, right?
Right, exactly.
Kind of what we thought it was going to be.
And at the end of the movie, yes, I did not expect what I saw in the end, the twist that we'll go into detail later. That did help make the movie stand out a little bit compared to the other common, modern nanny adaptations, I guess we can kind of go for. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was a little bit of everything. I didn't know at first what it was. By the second trailer, I started to get, yes, I think I know where this is going. Watching the movie, I was kind of saying, oh, yes, okay, now this should happen, yes, and then that twist came. So
right,
yeah, it definitely was starting to meet a lot of what was on my checklist, I guess, of what we would expect. And then when I saw the runtime being only an hour and 36 minutes, that kind of was like, okay, so what is going to be their goal to make a short movie? Well, it's not even short. It's just, it's not common that much to have an hour and a half for a movie. So I was like,
yeah, it's short, relatively speaking, nowadays
compared to the standard. So that kind of was also a factor when I saw that. I was like, okay, so is this going to be just like a true to the core kind of message? Is this going to, because normally when you think of like a longer movie, you think there is going to be a first, in a second and a long third act, but this one kind of was like equally different acts. So that was a nice change of pace.
Okay, yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. I initially went into it thinking, it was kind of like I said, a kind of a modern day Mary Poppins. I thought this woman named Tully was going to come and not only help the mom but help the father and help the children. And there's one of their children was kind of I guess special needs, I say, but they didn't really know what was wrong with him. He had kind of like emotional distress and
didn't they
weird
say
anxieties
in the movie he was he was a complex, or they kept saying for a specific word.
They kept saying quirky,
yes, that was
they were
it.
like, he's quirky,
yeah.
Which was like, you could see the frustration on the mom's face every time she heard that word. Yeah, and then finally she just erupted like, what does that effing mean? So yeah, I kind of thought that's what Tully was going to do. Throughout the film, we see that Tully's interactions are pretty much solely with the mom, Charlize Theron's character. We see one scene where it appears that her and the mom are interacting with the husband, but for the most part, it's only the mom and Tully. So that was interesting, and it was pretty great to see. You could see throughout the film they were becoming more. Forming a more stronger bond and a better friendship throughout the film, and they were, talking to each other and sitting out the deck having wine and laughing, and you can kind of see Tully helping the mom, kind of bringing her back to life, because in the beginning of the film you see how exhausted she is, and has two kids, one of them kind of with special needs. She's pregnant, ready to pop any minute. The husband, played by Ron Livingston, he's a good dad and a good husband, but he kind of tunes out a little bit, and he goes, and plays his video games, and he's like, goes on business trips, so he's kind of not as present as she is. So you kind of instantly like sympathize with her a lot more, and
yes.
you can feel like just the tension and the exhaustion and the frustration, and just kind of it kind of seems like she's kind of like stuck in this kind of state of misery. just, you know.
Which, to kind of just break that down of all that you just said, it was this truthful and honest depiction that was very nice to see.
Yeah.
I know Hollywood movies generally tend to, you know, beautify some of those kinds of moments in life where it's, you know, oh, it's just all happy that we're having another kid, you know, everything's going well. And sometimes, not mostly, when they do those kinds of things, it's normally because the family is in a good stance. Mm-hmm. But this one felt like it was a very common expectation of the reality of this moment of having a third child in this case, or, you know, a relationship that, you know, is not necessarily bad, but not necessarily at its best. It's kind of in that middle spot where it's comfortable, I guess you would say.
It just felt so real. Like there were times where I know it was a movie and I know they were actors, but at times it felt like I wasn't watching a movie. I felt like I was like watching a family, you know, just like an ordinary everyday family, and watching the daily struggles and the daily frustrations. I mean, it was really like you said, very accurate. I think very unapologetically accurate.
Yes.
And really like shed light on how, you know, it is for parents, and parenthood is, you know, it is kind of glamorized in movies, and it's like you see the, you know, all these, you know, lovey-dovey scenes, and then you see the mom giving birth, and she births the baby, and she's crying, and the husband is kissing her on the forehead, and, oh, you did such a good job, honey, I'm so happy, and they're so happy, and blah, blah, blah. And that this film didn't really, you know, play into those cliches. It really showed, like, the kind of how it really is sometimes for a lot of parents.
Yeah, that's
which
true.
I think is really, like, refreshing. I always love movies that just are just honest and blunt, and even though it may be a little like uncomfortable to watch, as long as it's like staying true to what like real life really is, I think it's great. I really liked those moments in the movie.
I think this movie really finally wanted to tell this theme about I want to say more so motherhood than parenthood, because this was really more of like how she feels about to have the baby, how she feels during the actual birth, and how she feels afterwards. And it's not all you know, it doesn't go away after the baby's born. That's the start of it. So I really feel like that was a really great thing that stood out. And the performance, I mean, that definitely needs a shout out of its own. She did wonderful.
She did amazing. I think she did so good. And I don't know if you've seen any other films she's been in, but I've seen like two. I saw Monster, which she won an Oscar for. Gesundheit.
Thank you.
And she was, I mean, phenomenal in that. And then obviously, did you see Atomic Blonde?
Yes.
Okay, so then you have seen, yeah.
Yeah, no, I've seen some of her performances. I mean, the other performances that I've seen her in have been more action-related roles. I haven't seen her play a drama role, I guess, a dramatic character. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and it wasn't even necessarily her lines. It wasn't like she was delivering her lines, you know, beautiful or anything. It was more of her facial, expressions that. So I mean, granted, yes, with the help of makeup and all that stuff that made it believable, because I'm sure in the movie she went from having a full belly to after like almost back to her, you know, her normal self, which I'm sure that was not like I don't think she was pregnant.
Speaking of that, I found out that she did gain 50 pounds for this role.
That is not surprising. Not surprising at all, because I think she really wanted it to feel real. And you can only get away with so much if like
you can only do so much with prosthetics and bodysuits and like before it kind of doesn't seem real. But
the goal of those kinds of props, I guess we can say, in that situation is to just support the role, but not to fully display the situation in that sense. So I think the only thing that they really used in that case was her actual like pregnancy belly, right? And I would assume that would be the only thing that was not hers,
right? But I think after the scenes after she did give birth and it was just her kind of post delivery body, she gained weight for that, which is,
but yeah,
I mean that's incredible.
I think a great comparison. Just speaking off movies that we've seen and we've talked on the podcast I was gonna realize we didn't talk about this on the podcast. Did we talk about it? Phantom Thread.
Yeah, we did.
Did we cover that on the podcast, Ruben? Did we do fan?
We did an episode on that. Yeah.
Yes, we did. Okay,
Yes.
Perfect. We've seen so many, I don't even know.
I know.
But that one, Daniel Day-Lewis had it was a very similar performance where it was more facial expressions, body reactions, more so than a delivery of the words that they were saying. Their actions were speaking louder than the words in this case. So yes, it was definitely a standout. I don't think it's a standout that's going to be award recognized. Just given the time of the release of the movie, I think it might get overshadowed by a lot of upcoming movies and those coming closer.
I get frustrated too when you have like gems of movies that come out early in the year, because it's like, please, like Academy members or whoever, Hollywood Foreign Press members, like, please remember this film, 9 months from now, 10 months from now, like, don't forget it, and it's hard because you usually get the films from August to January. Those are
the thing is, it's the studios that push it. The studios are the ones that do for your consideration reminders, I guess you can say. So I'm not sure. I don't think there was any of the big studios that made this film. I'm trying to recall what the studio was.
Was it Focus?
Focus, yes, Focus Pictures. So it would have to be Focus that promotes this when it comes time to remind them. So yeah, and I mean, it's not necessarily the voters. It's more so of, do they market this movie again for that time? Which would be awesome. I want her to get nominated. I do want her to get nominated.
Yeah.
I don't think she will, just because of the setting of where we're at.
Yeah, same. I think it's deserving of a nomination. I think she did great. Obviously, I mean, she's put in work, and I think of like other actors who gain. A lot of actors that gain weight, lose weight.
Right.
Christian Bale is one of them. Yeah, definitely comes to mind. He always is gaining and losing, and that's such a dedication. I think, especially for like. I mean, not to get on this subject, but I feel like for a woman in Hollywood too, like you always hear about women having to lose weight, but like for such like a very, very beautiful woman like Charlize Theron to like be that dedicated to gain, 50 pounds, that's a lot of weight, and to like, I mean, she was really dedicated to that, I mean, she's always really dedicated, but like, I just applaud her on that. That was awesome.
That's a noticeable dedication. I think that's what you're going for.
Yeah.
You actually notice that kind of change compared to like, oh, she just went to go talk to the people that she's portraying, or kind of like that, or she went to Scotland because she was making a movie that took place in Scotland. Like those kind of things you don't necessarily see during the film. You just assume like, oh, she's just playing a role. But yes, when it comes to physical transformations, those are the ones you notice and can appreciate with the performance.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, Charlize was Amera. I don't know what I was gonna say. I wanted to say I know Charlize was America. I meant to say she's amazing, and we saw she was just tired and exhausted and didn't really know what to do anymore. So she calls Tully, and this woman played by Mackenzie Davis comes, and she's like, "Hi, I'm here to help you." And she just like kind of throws herself right into it and was like, grabs the baby, and she's like, "We're good, I'll wake you when it's time to feed." And so throughout the film, we see Tully, Tully comes at night, and it seems like Charlize Theron's getting more sleep and getting more rest, and Tully's cooking, making cupcakes for the kids and cleaning the house at night, and it all just seems to be like amazing. Tully seems like an amazing person.
And to kind of elaborate on that, this is where I was getting anxious, because it was starting to look picture perfect. It started to become, I mean, and the thing was, it wasn't picture perfect as like everything started to go in their favors. It was just like she was starting to sleep well. She was starting to, for what we assume, it was back to her normal self. I mean, we never saw who she was before pregnancy,
right.
But felt like she was starting to be more active in her own life, and great things were becoming of that. Like her family was noticing that. Her brother made comments about like her kind of doing those things back to what she was doing before, and that was great. But I was being anxious because this is a movie, so there has to be a change. There has to be a reason that causes the story to move forward. Otherwise,
and it's only an hour 34-minute movie, so that change is going to come pretty relatively quickly.
And we start to feel like that change is coming because Tully starts to want to be more involved, and she's like always saying like, "Oh, we can work on that," and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I mean, yeah, you can probably mentioned some of those things. But yeah, so some of the signs of just like, that's it.
And another thing too is it seemed like she was supposed to be a very kind of young, looking, probably early 20s, mid 20s girl.
Right. Yes, mid 20s. Yeah.
But she had all this wisdom and all this great life advice for the mom, and so that's kind of where I was getting like, I was like, man, you're almost too good to be. It's like that thing, too good to be true, kind of. Like,
right.
What's the catch here?
Like that's what I was waiting for. I was waiting for she robs them, or the entire time she was getting the layout of the entire place so she can, use it for something and get away with it.
Or like, she was gonna start this affair with the husband.
Yes.
Or or
that's where I thought it was going.
That's where you thought it was going to?
Right now.
Oh.
I watched it.
Oh, okay.
I was like, oh, she had an affair with the husband.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what
it was. That a lot of those times, a lot of scenes, you started to think about like, Tully, this is a job. Why are you trying to get personal?
And it seemed like with every scene she came to the house, she was getting more comfortable.
Opening the fridge without even asking.
Yeah, exactly. And I was getting nervous because I'm like, is that going to rub them the wrong way? Is there going to be a conflict? Like, hey, you're getting too comfortable here? Like, I wasn't sure. I didn't know where it was going to go. But, Charlize, I need to find out her name so I can stop saying Charlize Theron or stop saying mom. The mom.
I mean, we can say
Marlo. Her name was Marlo.
I like the mom better.
Okay. Marlo and Drew were the parents. So yeah, you see Marlo and Tully just kind of forming this bond more and more, and then.
And the thing that was getting it more like maybe it won't go this way was that she was okay with it. Marlo was she was accepting these like interactions with Tully, and she was really appreciating she was embracing that friend. Mm-hmm. It was becoming more of a friend too. Yeah.
Yeah, it really was.
Which gets that's.
So takes us kind of to
third act.
Huh?
The third act.
The third act. So they go out. Tully comes and she's like, "Let's go get a drink, Marlo." And at first she's hesitant, but then they end up going, like driving to Brooklyn, I think.
Yep.
Visiting Marlo's old neighborhood, and they're out and they're drinking, having a good time. And this is when Tully says, "I have to leave." She doesn't really give an explanation. She just says, "It's time for me to leave." And Marlo is like, "Why? Everything's going so good. You're helping me. Why
I
are
need
you
for
leaving?"
A little bit longer. Yeah.
Right. We just need you for a little bit longer, and this and that. And Tully's just basically telling her, "I'm sorry."
No. Yeah. Never actually went into why.
Yeah.
Which to me, that again, trying to assume things like, oh, it's because I think you said it first that she was having an emotional connection to Marlo. And
I thought it was like, oh, maybe she's falling in love with Marlo. Like, so
right.
She's like, I need to leave. I need to distance myself. We had so many like predictions of where it was gonna go.
Right. I think that was probably why. Back to the original question that you had asked, like it didn't go the way I thought it was gonna go.
Right.
Based off the trailers, based off what a typical movie of this theme would normally go. Yeah, like it didn't go like when Mary Poppins left. Just kind of throwing that as a comparison. When she leaves at the end, it feels natural. Like everyone in the family has reached their best. So they're not leaving at their worst. They're not leaving at the best. So it makes sense when she wants to leave. But here with Tully, it doesn't feel like complete. Yeah. It feels like, this is just, middle of her trying to get back. Because she never got back to work. She was still on medical leave. Yeah, she was, I said medical, but she was still on maternity leave. So you would assume that Tully would be there till at the very end of that, maybe when she got back to work, she can hire daycare and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so
Tully tells her that she has to leave. Marlo's kind of I don't want to say throws a fit, but she's a little upset. She's upset by it because she's really like, I don't understand why. But anyways, it's whatever. I guess they come to terms with it. She throws up. I mean, there's
alcohol. Starts to
a couple of things happen.
She has to. She has to breastfeed or whatever.
She needs to breastfeed, but she can't because she's been drinking. So Tully kind of helps her like get that milk out.
Which then goes back to you saying, it definitely is unapologetic, like honest. Like that is a real thing that occurs to women. It's not like
right.
Women are always in like the right spot at the right time. They're just
right. Sometimes they're away from the baby and they're taking shots of bourbon, and it happens, I guess.
But as we continue.
But anyway, so they're heading back home. They're both tired. They're both in the car. They're heading back home and drifting off. And you're like, oh, gosh, where this is going to go. They end up crashing the car.
Dun, dun, dun.
Marlo, sorry, I forgot her name. I was going to say Mormon.
I really thought you were going to look into the car. They crashed their Mercedes-Benz GT65.
They're 2017. No, they crashed the car. And then, so throughout the film, they had kind of been trickling in these like mermaid sequences, these kind of dreamlike mermaid scenes. So this scene kind of ends up becoming that. Marlo's sinking at the bottom of this lake or pond, and Tully comes in this mermaid-esque kind of form and unbuckles her seatbelt and allows her to escape the car so she doesn't drown. And then we cut to her in the hospital bed, and this is like the last scene of the film. One of the last scenes of the film. Basically, we find out that from the doctor, because the husband is talking to the psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist is asking questions, and Drew is like, she's been, the nanny's been helping, and she's been, has more energy and more stamina, and she's been doing great. And the doctor's like, no, she is extremely exhausted and dehydrated, and like basically on a mental like brink, like of like breaking down. So basically, we find out that Tully was all in her head. It was like pretty much a hallucination, I guess, if you will.
Yeah.
Kind of like, hallucinating this imaginary person,
like a
who was never
mechanism,
really there.
Yeah.
So that was like, whoa, okay.
And Tully was actually her maiden name.
Tully was her maiden name, which we found out towards the end.
Yeah. So this revelation, I think this is where it was like unexpected, but then I was like, wait. I need to cover some things
then
that we saw.
Then you start backtracking through all the scenes, right? Then
you're
like, hold up.
They kind of try to show you some of the like how it actually went down versus.
Yeah, they kind of flash back a little bit, and it's a lot of scenes with just Marlo by herself.
But now I got questions. Now now I'm like, wait, so the husband never made an attempt to go downstairs and meet the nanny?
That was my biggest thing. The husband, and I guess it kind of plays into his character, because he kind of was like, when he wasn't working, he would, kind of go and play his video games.
I mean, he would go home around dinner time, eat.
Eat with the family, focus on do homework with the kids a little bit.
And then go upstairs and play.
Head upstairs and play his game. And then that's by when Tully would come after he went upstairs. But it's like, as a father, as someone watching over your newborn baby, like you wouldn't want to make an effort to meet that person.
Right. Like that was my biggest thing.
That's where the realistic thing comes in here.
Where our podcast come to play. Like, realistically, you would go want to see who's going to be at your house. Not even necessarily to kind of make sure that they don't look threatening, but you just need to know who's in there so you can know. Like, you never know. What if you had to go downstairs because you heard a loud sound and you see her? Like, are you the night nanny?
Yeah. You never went downstairs to get a drink of water?
Right, exactly.
Something?
Yeah. I mean, be courteous and go say hi and be like, hi, I'm the father of the child you are watching, Mia. So
yeah. So the ending, so the fact that she wasn't real, did it throw it off for you? Were you like, oh, that's interesting, I like that twist? How do you feel about it looking back now?
I didn't like
looking back, like we're like a year later. We take a look back.
This is actually a real rewind.
I know.
No, it did affect my thoughts in the movie because I was liking where it was going. It's tough because, yes, you do need that conflict. You need that climax. Otherwise, this movie would have been a 40-minute movie, and then you'd be like, oh, they're good.
Yeah.
like if everything went fine, then there wouldn't be a third act. If there was no twist, or if there was no the nanny was actually crazy and she was actually trying to kidnap the baby. Like, if there was none of that,
which I'm so glad they didn't do that route, because I mean we already have the hand that rocks the cradle. Like, we didn't need to see that again. You know. So yeah, that would have been so cliche, over the top. Like, she's crazy and she's trying to kill the mother to be the mother.
Right. Exactly.
So thankfully, it didn't take that route.
But it definitely changed my thoughts on the movie, because then I'm like, okay, so I thought the theme was going to be about motherhood and parenting, but it shifted to self-care.
Yeah.
And yes, it was during the stage of having a child, but it did shift what I thought the movie was trying to walk away with, in terms like, this is what we're trying to say, this is the important message. So it did change that. Did I like the change? I want to say I did like the change.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not having anything against it. There were seeds that if you watch the movie again, you can pick it up. You will say, "Oh, okay, yes,
that makes sense."
Oh, look,
they had a lot of things in common. They had, both of their favorite drinks was bourbon. They both had like a favorite song that they played at the bar when they went out. Those little things.
Yeah.
They sprinkled in.
And the little things of like the husband never did see Tully, despite how unrealistic or how wrong that is. But like those things like that you can be like, I guess the other one, since we're spoilers, when obviously before the twist in the middle, Tully was getting like asking a lot of questions about what the husband Drew likes and like what turns him on,
right?
And Marlo,
Marlo,
she told him exactly what it was. And
it's like a waitress outfit.
Yeah, and they go and do it, and it looks like
there's like a threesome.
Yes,
that's gonna happen.
Yeah, so like those things like that. That once you know the twist, then you're just like, oh, so it was always her. That explains why he never really.
Because he said the next morning he was like, "Are we gonna talk about this?" And she's like, "We don't have to." So then that just cleared that up. Like, okay, we don't have to address it.
Right. She just thought she just tried something different, try to rekindle their love. Like it's explainable. Like it
definitely explains it.
Yeah.
Speaking of the husband, so I just had one of my last questions was how do I word this? Is any of the blame for the mental state that Marlo ended up being in, does any of that blame get put on Drew, on the husband? Could he have been a little more attentive? Could he have been a little more involved?
Yes.
And not relied so much on Marlo.
Yes, but I don't say he's at fault for everything. I feel like he is doing his part in the other aspects that you need him to.
Yeah.
He is the one financially still
providing.
And he has all that kind of work that he has to do. He's helping the kids. It's not like he is just going home and sleeping or playing games. He is actually contributing and making sure the kids are learning and eating well and sleeping. And he is caring for his wife.
Speaking of helping the kids, a little fun fact: the scene where he was helping the daughter with the math. Remember that scene?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That was actually a reshoot that they did after they screened the film to test audiences, because the test audiences were not liking his character at all, and they felt like he was like neglectful and wasn't involved. So they added that scene in to make him more of a likable character. Goes
to show that they weren't trying to make him like that. Because obviously they would have left it like, yeah, that's what we were trying to go for.
Yeah, they were trying to make him like a loving husband, like a good father, which he was. It's just I feel like he could have been involved a little more. I felt like there were a lot of scenes where he was just, I get he's a hardworking man. He goes on business trips, like he's providing, and and when he gets home from work and he has to do things with the kids and every once in a while checks in on his wife. So I get after all that, the man just wants to come home and relax and, play a couple games.
But I think this is where communication has to be established. Like, he needs to ask, what can I do? Like, I know, assuming that she has it and she looks fine, I know like that can be easy to fall into, where it's just like, she looks fine, she looks great, so let's just keep doing what we're doing because it's working.
Yeah.
But you have to communicate. That's the biggest thing, is you have to communicate with that. And I mean, obviously it sucks because we've seen how like a night nanny can actually be helpful. So and then you kind of think like, oh, maybe he can start taking on those roles. Maybe at night, for a couple of hours, he can just go be with the baby, or if the baby cries, then he actually gets up and helps. Like those little things, like, that the night nanny was doing, he can maybe start working into.
Mm-hmm.
Or like maybe when he gets home from work, maybe he helps cooks the cupcakes and stuff like that. Like, yeah, like seeing how a night nanny could help. I mean, this is just as an audience, you can start to think like, oh, there are ways he can still contribute. Because that's the argument you can make, is he's limited in how he can help with the newborn.
Mm-hmm.
He can only go so far. Yeah, he can change the diapers. Yeah, he can, cradle. Yeah.
Oh, he could cradle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he can be there for a lot of those moments. But if the baby's hungry, that's not his role. But yeah, that's just communication that.
It's just figuring out a system that works for your family. You know, and if there was more communication,
but
you know, maybe it would Marlo wouldn't have gotten to.
But that's
not just on him. Like, I'm not trying to put blame on him.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. I don't think he's at fault in that way.
Yeah.
He just I would say he may have assumed. He may have assumed things were going well. Therefore, there's no need to ask, or there's no need to check up on her.
And it kind of, I mean, you can kind of sense his quote unquote a little guilt, you know, like a little guilty towards the end, and that kind of the final words he kind of said to her, you know, and how he kind of got a little choked up, and he was, you know, saying like, I love us, and you know, and kind of it's kind of like he had this like self-realization that like maybe he could have done a little more. So that was nice. But absolutely, I wouldn't want to put any like blame on him, like, oh, your wife's in this state because of you, like you didn't attend to her enough. I mean, you know, he could have done a little more, but he's doing the best he can.
Right.
Everyone was doing the best they could. Marlo was doing the best she could. Drew was doing the best he could. You know, the kids were being the kids, but going back to like, it just shows like that's what this film was, just like a real look at what it's like to, you know, try to be a parent and how to function as a family.
Yes.
And it's not always easy.
Nope. You can't assume.
Cannot.
Yeah. I mean, there's some life lessons you can walk away with this film as like a new parents, even just self-care. I think that's what I was telling you. That's my favorite thing that this movie did try to tell you about, is you do need to care for yourself.
Yeah. And
it's not care for yourself in that like you need to do something big or anything. You just one day sleep, or one day, you know, eat something you enjoy, or you know, go buy that shirt that you like. You don't have to go
like treat yourself.
Yeah, you don't have to go to Vegas, or you don't have to do this extravagant, you know, self-fun activity.
Yeah.
Something minor, and that helps you because that makes you satisfied and happy. Mm-hmm. And then when you're happy, you are willing to continue trying or continue working.
Yeah.
It's a nice message.
For sure. I agree. Did you have like a favorite scene from the film?
That's a tough one.
Or your favorite, I mean, you kind of said like that was your biggest takeaway, was that lesson. That could be your favorite thing from this film.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of scene, I mean, I don't think I have a scene that particularly stands out. In terms of memorable, her like her reaction to the school when the school kicked out her son, and she was done about Quirky and like all that. That was the most memorable scene that stays out. That I think she delivered. Again, that goes back to her performance. So I think that part. I mean, just talking about that and wanting to see that scene again, I probably would say was my favorite scene. But I think that was just more of like a great moment, a great performance delivery moment.
Absolutely. Once again, I don't want to say it's like my favorite scene, but it was one that it's my favorite scene looking at it from the standpoint of Charlize Theron being an actress, was when she gave birth to their third daughter, and you could just see there wasn't I mentioned it yesterday, there was like no life in her face. It was just like, I mean, there was no joy. You know, in the films, it's like, you know, like I said earlier in the episode, like they're, you know, mothers are like usually crying, and they're, you know, crying tears of joy and happiness, and they're overjoyed and enthralled with this new life. But she pushed the baby out, and it was kind of like, okay, and like, now what? You know, put the baby in the what are those little beds that they put him in?
Little bed baby.
The little, yeah. But I thought that scene was really good. I mean, just reading her face and her eyes, I think she just delivered in that scene, and just it was for me, it was one of the most memorable scenes. Where I was just like, man, like she's really not saying she didn't love the kid. She was just like, you know.
I mean, there was some there when she was when the brother and the brother's wife visited, and she was like, "Go put the baby over there."
Oh yeah, when the sister-in-law tried to hand her the baby back, and she was like, "Can you just put the baby back in the crib,
sometime the way it was filmed, I guess. I mean, not necessarily. Yeah, ultimately that was what they were trying to convey, but the way it was filmed, it did come off more of like.
I feel like that it was what they were trying to convey. Like that was the point of that scene.
I'm saying like the way they're filmed, I can see how it can come off as she didn't love the baby. Like it was. Just,
yeah.
Like not. Well, no, I get what you're saying.
It seemed like kind of cold, you know. But
that would have been a great. If that was the approach the film was going to make, that would have been a great starting point where you kind of been like, I don't even think she wants this baby, and obviously didn't take that route at all. But
yeah,
that could have easily been like the starting point.
I'm glad the route that the film took. Like I thought the film was it was a little different than what I expected, but I left the theater like fulfilled and satisfied, and I do want to see it again.
In Espanol,
en français.
There you go.
And that's all I know.
Which is available on iTunes when it's on pre-order. If you're on iTunes already. Just finding ways to tie that back.
Right. Speaking of iTunes, so final real score for the film. What do you give it?
I'm giving it 4 out of 5.
Me too. I'm just going to throw mine in there too.
And my reasoning for 4 out of 5, I did enjoy the movie. The only things that I would critique it on are those moments that I feel like it did not cover its grounds with those small things of like the husband not checking, moments where how did it explain? Well, they kind of explained that the husband was kind of a heavy sleeper, so I can see how.
Or even initially when the brother told her about them being like, there's a night nanny, and he was like,
right.
Call her. I called her, or she said, please tell me you didn't hire me one of those people.
Right.
And he's like, call her. So it's like, did he really call her, or did she call? Like, you know,
she never took the note. I don't think so.
She took the post.
So she did?
Yeah, because she pulled it out of her purse later.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
I don't know. Yeah, I totally agree. It could have fine-tuned those minor details that were relating to, you know, the twist.
Yeah.
Which could have made it a little more, I think, compelling. And
I mean, Drew, the performance of the character
Ron Livingston.
Yes. I was like, I have no idea who that is. Yes, I felt like that one. I mean, I guess maybe adding that scene kind of helped what they were going for, but I don't feel like his performance completed that. I feel like that scene helped, and those kind of moments did help add to that character, but I feel like his performance was very stock in times, where the sense of like, what are you doing that makes you stand out as the actor in this role versus, you know, what's given to you as a script. Like when you're given a script, you know what you're saying, you know what your reasons are. So it becomes more a matter of how do I deliver this that you can recognize these things in a natural way. And I felt like a lot of the times I could see it more being of like this, just the script calls for this rather than like moments, just to kind of explain I guess an example, when he was playing a video game, when he was playing the video games at night, those scenes, it was a couple of times, those scenes, I did not believe this was a character that was into his games. It felt like this was the script saying you are playing a game while Marlo, just messing up the name. Marlo comes in. Like, you know, it felt like those were the scripts delivering what you're supposed to do rather than you making this character feel like, yes, I'm into this game and stuff like that. Okay. And the fact that they showed it multiple times is why I'm saying, like, I didn't believe it. I felt like that was not, like, this is your time to shine. Use it and to convey. And I know I'm not saying, you know, this is the actor challenge. This is making the actors challenge. But yeah, things like that. I just wanted to. That was my little acting.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for that little acting 101 with Oscar. Gotcha.
Check out my other podcast, 101 by Oscar.
Okay, so those are the reasons you give it a 4 out of 5.
Yes, don't look for that podcast. It's not real.
He was just joking, everyone. He doesn't really have that podcast. Maybe someday in the future. No, absolutely. I'm right there with you. I'm not going to repeat it. You hit the points pretty much. My only thing was, the reason it wasn't like 5 out of 5 was because of those minor details that they could have fine-tuned more.
It distracts. Yes.
Yeah, it distracts a little bit. But other than that, amazing movie. Charlize Theron, great performance. So we definitely want to know what you guys think, if you guys loved the film as well. Specifically, I think we would be interested in hearing some feedback from some parents and kind of hearing, you know, if the film was an accurate portrayal of parenthood, and if those are, you know, things that most parents go through, but it's just aren't talked about or aren't shown.
Right. We're going off of people in our family, people in our lives that have kids and that we've kind of witnessed more so than us having kids. So so we would love to get your perspective on that.
Yes. So for sure, please drop us a comment. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Let us know your thoughts, what you thought about the film, the performance. the themes of the film, all of that good stuff. And one more time, just want to ask our iTunes listeners if you guys could just please review us on iTunes. It would greatly help us out, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Just do it really quickly, guys.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be elaborate. You
you
can just put your ratings. You don't have to explain why. I don't think iTunes makes you explain why. If it does, you can just play great, something simple.
Just keep it
3
simple.
words. Yeah, absolutely.
Great podcast. You guys are awesome.
Well, don't tell them what to say. Put whatever you want.
Then
to
all
say.
the comments are gonna say that. Great podcast. You guys are awesome.
And put quote in quotation marks, and then the Donnie. This is what Donnie said.
Right. What Donnie told us to put.
But
that's
yes,
awesome. But absolutely. Yes, okay. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you next time.
Same
Peace
place.
Out. Same place, same time.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.